It's so nice to have everybody together, everybody seeing each other for the first time. We're all excited to be together, to say hello after a long absence. Some people I know haven't been in this building since COVID. So it's nice to be together. It's good to be together. Shana Tova.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, well played. A Trump.
It is Shabbat,
It is Rosh Hashanah.
so let's do both.
Sounds good.
We will start our tefillah tonight with a glimpse of Shabbat. And then we'll welcome formally Rosh Hashanah. What page are we on?
We are on page 4 in the Machzor. Thank you to the one person who left. I'll pay them after that. It was. I'm not a poet.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך. Martin, I don't know if you have טוב להודות somewhere handy. I probably forgot to tell you we were going to do this. טוב להודות, it is good to be grateful. Psalm for Shabbat, top of the page. How does it go? Let's try that again. להגיד בבוקר, להגיד בבוקר, בוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילה. Try that again. להגיד בבוקר, בוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילה. טוב להודות, טוב להודות ולזמר לשמך העליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון. יא לילה לילה, יא לילה לילה, יא לילה לילה, יא לילה לילה. La 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la. טוב להודות, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון. Let's open our hearts. In this season of return, this is the nigun for a new song. Try that again. From the beginning, a little louder. And one more time. And the second part, try that again. The second part, one more time. And one last time. From the beginning. Now let the music cue. And one more time.
To the song are Hashiveni, let me return to you, God. Return me to you, God. Ve'ashuva, and I will return. If the idea of ashuva sounds familiar, it's because it's related to a word that this time does actually rhyme.
Teshuva.
There you go. She got the punchline. Teshuva. We're asking God to let us return not only to God's good graces, but to our own. To let us return to being people we're proud of. To let us return to being people that when we look in the mirror, we recognize, maybe there's a few more lines, maybe there's a little less hair, but we recognize the person we've become as the character, in character and in spirit. Hashiveni Adonai Elecha ve'ashuva, return me to you, my God. We accept that we are not the end-all be-all, that we are just a means to something larger when we say this song. Let me return ve'ashuva, and I promise I will return. Chadesh Yameinu, renew our days as they were of yore. I don't know exactly when yore was, but I would like to say, let us return to days of innocence, days of spiritual fulfillment, days where if you look at a child, when they experience something, they experience it from their head to their toe. They're so excited. Let us return to that innocence, to that purity of spirit that we see around us. Hashiveni Adonai Elecha ve'ashuva.
Chadesh Yameinu, Kekedem. Let's join together. Top of the slide.
The poet and priest John O'Donohue once said, "Music is what language wishes it could be." We're going to be singing that song over and over this high holidays, and I want to invite you, you know the power of music. I want to invite you to return to a time, to return to our ability to just lose ourselves in the music, to lose ourselves in kavanah, in spirit. I'm going to share. We introduced that song to the community last Saturday night, and after the services, Cantor came up to me, and she said, "What's wrong?" And I think I said that you guys tore my heart open. And I mean that in the most beautiful possible way. So I want to invite you, these high holidays, to have your heart torn open, to fill yourself with the music, to fill yourself with the kavanah. I also want to pause for a moment. I'm going to change the tone radically, and I apologize. I want you to do me a favor and look around this room. I want you to, first of all, thank you for flying PJTC Airlines. We are in 2023 in America, and we have to know where our exits are. It's just a fact of being here in services. So I want you to note where your exits is. Please realize they may be behind you. In the need of a if for some reason we are asked to leave the building, I'm going to ask you to, you see the ushers, can I have the ushers raise your hand, please? You can see the ushers around. I'm going to ask you in an orderly fashion, should the need arise, to follow their instructions. Also, many of you have placards in your seat or tied to the seat in front of you. Please, first of all, they're not swag. Don't take them with you. But take a look at them, familiarize with the procedures, with what is on those cards. I also want to announce that if you are pre-K through 7th grade child is participating in Junior Kong, or your older child is assisting, now is the time. Now is the time, now is the best time. Please follow Emily, who's waving in the back, and our other teachers, whom I apologize, I can't see you from back there. So follow them upstairs or walk your child to the teachers. Please note, parents, except for drop-off, adults are not permitted upstairs. So if you need to pick your child up early or see your child mid-service, please find an usher to assist you. All right. The logistics we got? Okay, good. So we turn here in our books. Yours may be a little smaller than this. We're going to turn to page 5 for the formal call to prayer, the Baruch Hu. Please rise as you are able. Seated. Cantor, do you mind if we practice that nusach with everybody? That one, the one you're doing right now?
Sure.
All right. So it's been a while maybe since you've heard that tune, maybe about a year. So I'm going to invite you to do that song. And when you hear that, Kier, can you do it? So that tune, that Rosh Hashanah tune, that Mariv tune, we're celebrating a birthday. Today is a new year, not just for us, not for Jews, but for the entire world. Today's the birthday of the world. It's a happy occasion, so we're here to celebrate. We're on the middle of page 5.
אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המריב הרבים.
We're on the top of page 6.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. Together. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, ישופנו ותאמרנו, נשירך חוקך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך, לעולם אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. One more time together. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. ומתחל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'amarta alehem v'asu lahem tzitzit al kanfei vigdehem l'dorotam v'nadnu al tzitzit hakanaf petil techelet v'haya lachem l'tzitzit uritem oto Uzechartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam velo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei enechem asher atem zonim achareihem leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. So I feel like a professor right now in a large lecture hall, and there are a bunch of people sitting as far away from the professor as possible. So I'm going to invite all of you who are sitting back there to come in here. We can fill these seats. There's enough room for everybody. So if you're comfortable coming up, I want to invite you to come up and join us tonight. And we'll sit together as a community as we continue our service on page 8 with the Micha Mocha. There's plenty of room up there, all these rows over here. All right, and the kids in the back will just throw spitballs. It'll be fine.
ומלכותו ורצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה מלכותך ראו עיניך בוקר היום לפני משה ומרים זי לי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדדנו את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני רע לישראל.
We're on the top of page 9.
It is Shabbat after all. Bottom of the page, Veshamru Bnei Yisrael et Shabbat. Shabbos. Veshamru Bnei Yisrael et Shabbat. לעשות את השבת לגדולתה לרית כולם אוי 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 השבי שבת ויהי נפש.
We're on the top of page 10 as we say some words that are just said for the holiday. As we keep transitioning between Shabbat and Rosh Hashanah, on the top of the page we talk about the Chodesh of the Shofar, the month of the Shofar. We blow the Shofar on Rosh Hashanah, but we've been blowing it every day of the month of Elul, telling us to wake up, to do teshuvah, to wake us up to repent, to return. And so we're on the top of page 10 for Tik'u b'chodesh shofar, sound the shofar on our feast day on the new moon when it is hidden. For it is Israel's law, a decree of the God of Yaakov, the God of Jacob. On the top of page 10.
Tik'u b'chodesh shofar, u'makes elyon chagaynu. בחודש שופר בכסל יום חגנו כי חוק לישראל משפט לאלוהי יעקב.
We turn to page 11. I'm going to ask you to rise as you're able for the silent Amidah, the silent prayer. This prayer on page 11 we'll come back to over and over on the holidays. It's a prayer thanking God for the gift of this holiday, for the gift of the community, the gift of Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, and the blessing of a new year. Can be found on page 11.
שלום, שלום במרומיו, עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ולכל ישראל ואמרו אמן. הוא יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ולכל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
We turn now to page 19.
And on page 19, we'll focus on two of my davening team's favorite words, Le'ela u'le'ela. Le'ela u'le'ela, Le'ela
Let me take this. It's heavier than it looks. Shana Tova. To err is human, to forgive, divine, right? Alexander Pope. It's not a bad way to sum up the high holidays. To err is human, to forgive is divine. It's really all there is. So, okay, let's go home. We're done. If only were that simple. Let's start with this idea that to err is human. On June 10th, 2010, a 28-year-old pitcher for the Detroit Tigers named Armando Galarraga, and if you know his name, it's because of this story. Armando Galarraga was, at best, an average major league pitcher, and on June 2nd, 2010, he was about to throw a pitch that was going to change his life forever. 2 outs in the 9th inning. I'm not Vin Scully. 2 out in the 9th inning, he was 1 batter away from achieving what had only been done up until that point 20 times in the entire history of Major League Baseball. He was about to throw a perfect game. In all of sports, there are very few things that are as pure as a perfect game in baseball. There are other accomplishments that show you've done well. You may score a lot of points in basketball on great shooting. In golf, you might shoot a 59, which I often do. Then I have 9 other holes to play, I realize. But baseball alone, with its perfect game, is unique in allowing someone to achieve absolute perfection. When Galarraga threw his next pitch, the batter, Jason Donald, grounded to the first base side. Every single replay shows that it wasn't even very close. It was clear Jason Donald, the batter, was out by a mile. Armando Galarraga had just achieved baseball immortality by throwing a perfect game. Unfortunately, there was one person who disagreed: the umpire. Jim Joyce didn't see what everyone else saw then and sees every time they watch the replay. He called the batter safe with a hit, and in doing so, robbed Galarraga of his perfect game. As the story unfolded, what came out was a profound life lesson about perfection and forgiveness. When he returned to the dressing room, the first thing Jim Joyce did was to check the replay of that fateful call. When he watched it, tears filled in his eyes as he realized he made a mistake. Understanding that he had just taken a perfect game away from this man, Joyce got up, went out of the umpire room, and went to find Armando Galarraga. When they met, Joyce, still with tears in his eyes, gave Galarraga a hug and apologized profusely for his own imperfection. The Talmud tells us that as human beings, we are blessed to be similar to angels and beasts. We're both divine and animal at the same time. These 2 ideas are the cornerstones of what it means to be human, to be both. In their fantastic book, The Spirituality of Imperfection, Ernst Kurtz and Catherine Ketchum write this line: "To be human is to embody a paradox. For according to that ancient vision, we are less than the gods, more than beasts, and yet somehow both." That's where the difficulty comes in. That's the paradox. That is the problem. We've been blessed and cursed with the knowledge that we have the capacity for divinity inside of us while being saddled with the limitations of our animal selves, and this is unique to us. Some of you have heard me talk about my dog. I love her. But she doesn't walk around saying, "Am I living up to my potential?" Just doesn't do that. We know that we can be better than we are. We know that we can be better husbands and wives, parents, and better children. But all too often, we fall short. On the high holidays, we read over and over again that we are merely flesh and blood, born of the dust and destined to return. We read that we are like clay in the hand of a potter. And at the same time, we recognize that we are all created in the image of the divine, B'Tselem Elohim. This is our task on these holidays, to find the balance between our own personal divinity found in every single one of us and the idea that we are and always will be imperfect, that our flesh is temporary and our lives fleeting. The knowledge that we are so much more, that we can be so much more, the knowledge that right now we're less than we can be can paralyze us and stop us from trying to improve ourselves. The comfort of complacency is much safer than the aspiration to change, than aspiring to change. We fear change. As the saying goes, the devil I know is better than the devil I don't. So I have some sobering news for us tonight. We will never, ever be perfect. We will disappoint people and ourselves the rest of our lives. We allow that knowledge to gnaw at us, but instead, we need to use our imperfection to liberate us to act. We need to hold on to the paradox that while perfection is impossible, we must strive to be better. We all know we're never going to be the perfect spouse, the perfect child, the perfect friend, or the perfect parent. And if we didn't know, there are people in our lives who will tell us that. They're happy to give us that service, to provide us that courtesy. But the real question is how we behave when we're confronted with our imperfection. How do we react to someone who makes us aware of our flaws and our mistakes? How do we react when someone says, "You hurt my feelings"? Sometimes we get defensive because we know that the criticisms sometimes reinforce our perception of our own inferiority. They remind us that we're not perfect. But here's a thought that might help. It's Voltaire. The perfect is the enemy of the good. If we wait around just for the perfect time, it will never come. Knowing this, knowing that we're never going to be perfect, there is hope. In that book, The Spirituality of Imperfection, they say this also. And if I haven't made it clear, I highly recommend this book. It's great. They say this: to deny our errors is to deny ourself, for to be human is to be imperfect. To be human is to be broken and ache for wholeness. I'm going to say that again. To be human is to be broken and ache for wholeness. Spirituality, which we're all seeking, accepts this great line. Spirituality tells us, if it's a thing worth doing, it is worth doing badly. As adults, sometimes we don't think we can do that, so we don't try. When a child learns a new language or learns a new skill, learns a new sport, they fail. That's part of it. But to open ourselves up to learning, when we're adults, we're supposed to know everything. To open ourselves up to trying something new, maybe learning a new language, learning how to dance, learning how, whatever. There's a great vulnerability in allowing ourselves to be wrong. Without forgiving ourselves, though, for making mistakes, we have to forgive ourselves for making mistakes, because without it, we cling to status quo like a climber on a cliff in the middle, afraid to try to move our hand upwards because we might fall back. And so we're stuck. It's okay to aspire for perfection, because complacency is another enemy of the good. It's healthy to improve ourselves. No one should be self-satisfied saying, "You know what? I'm good. I got nothing to do better at." At its core, Judaism is here to help us become better people. If it's not, we're not doing it right. Hopefully the knowledge that we'll never be perfect and never look perfect, hopefully that knowledge doesn't stop us from going to the gym. I can't imagine if the not looking like Ryan Reynolds would stop me from going to the gym. If you don't know who, well, that's a different story. The idea that we'll never be perfect, that we'll never be a perfect partner, should not make us turn away from our spouses and loved ones. Instead, it should draw us closer to them, knowing that they'll embrace us because of, not despite, our flaws. When I lived in Israel, I had to find an apartment. And I figured out quickly how to narrow the search using just one word. There's one word which became essential in any listing I looked at for apartments. The word is mishupatz. You search and you hunt for those apartments that are described as mishupatz because when you get one, you found something special. The word mishupatz, and I'm saying it like as American as I can, mishupatz, right? It's like a chadar. The word means renovated. These apartments were calling themselves mishupatz because they had undergone a transformation. After years of neglect with only minor repairs, these apartments had been gutted and built up again. It is really challenging to rebuild and to renovate in Jerusalem, to maintain the beauty and integrity of a building that may have existed for decades or even centuries, while balancing the need to improve the conditions and keep it livable. That renovation is exactly what we need to do with ourselves. In some areas, we only need to make some slight improvements, maybe a new coat of paint, maybe fix the drywall, maybe there's a hole. But it's hard, grueling work that we avoid year after year because the thinking is, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm just going to give you as many cliches as possible tonight. But I'm going to dispel every one of them. Because the truth is, there are aspects of our lives that we need to bring down to the studs and start over. Because even if it's not broke, we need to fix it. In that vein, I want to present you with an experiment or an exercise. Use this time, these days of awe, right? That's what the Yamim Noraim, these days of awe. Use them, if you will, to do some renovations. Use the coming days to make the most of the time that we're in this building and even the time when we're not. If you find your mind wandering in services, maybe the rabbi is droning on, whatever the thing, think about your lives and where you'd like to be. I'm willing to bet that not one of us here took the exact path we thought we would to get to where we are today. So we ask ourselves, how does our life look different than we thought it would years ago, than the plans we made? Right? You've heard me say it, and if you know Yiddish, Micht placht und Gott lacht. Man plans and God laughs. Are the differences from what we planned and expected, are they good differences? What would I change if I could? If we go through this entire season, this entire high holidays, if we experience our time in the sanctuary without re-examining our lives, then we're wasting our time. Then you're just sitting down. I know it's not easy. To take an honest look at ourselves requires bravery, since it requires sincerity and a certain amount of discomfort. It's a heady thing to think about at these holidays. 3 days set aside to think about our mortality and our morality, wondering if our lives hang in the balance for the good or the bad, and wondering if there's a divine plan for us. We hear the phrase tikkun olam all the time. Fix the world. You cannot do that. We cannot do that until we fix ourselves. The good news is, though, we can do it. Teshuvah means to repent, but really to return. To take this opportunity to return to being the people we're capable of being. to be those pure souls created in the image of God. When it feels too overwhelming, when it feels like we can't improve at all, we have to listen to the words of Rebbe Nachman of Breslov, who said, Imatam ma'amin sheyecholim lekalkel, ta'amin sheyecholim letaken. If you believe that you can break or destroy something, have faith and believe that you can fix it as well. It's never too late to try to fix our lives. In the next few days, 10 days from now, we're going to read the Kol Nidre. That's our deadline. Our deadline to really get into this process of shiputz, of renovation. Start our renovation before the moment passes and find ourselves on the other side of the 10 days in our normal, air quotes, lives. To err is human. And then there's that other part. To forgive is divine. After the game, after he met with Jim Joyce, the umpire, Armando Galarraga was interviewed. When someone inevitably asked him about the call, he simply said, "Nobody's perfect. Everybody's human." Our own personal divinity will never come from being perfect. It will come in our ability to forgive ourselves and our fellow human beings. A funny thing happens once we allow ourselves to be imperfect, when we realize that imperfection is the price we pay for effort. When we realize that, we can acknowledge that other people are struggling as well. In order to accept the imperfections of others, we must allow ourselves to be imperfect too. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but how many of you are harder on yourselves sometimes than on other people? Don't raise your hand. Without self-compassion for our imperfections, compassion for others is like building a house on a foundation of sand. Our spouses and our children, our friends and neighbors, everyone we encounter is struggling with their flaws and shortcomings. And I promise you, standing here right now, every single person you know is going to disappoint you. The question is whether or not you allow yourself to be disappointed, or you allow yourself to forgive. Humanity begins when people let their guard down and allow themselves to be seen as imperfect. The art of patience in the face of imperfection is difficult. That's why the reaction of our picture is so remarkable. Here was a man on the cusp of achieving everything every little leaguer grows up wishing. Every time a kid plays in a backyard and is a pitcher, that's what they're picturing, the perfect game. And in the face of someone taking it away from him, he reacts like God. Whether or not he knew it, in that moment, Armando Galarraga brought God right into baseball. Too often we ask for perfection from others while knowing that we're incapable of it. Those around us, the people we love us the most, are going to disappoint us, as I said. And on the high holidays, we ask God's forgiveness. We do all this. We beat our chests and confess our sins in the hope that our transgressions will be forgotten. But what we need to focus on is our own forgiveness. Without forgiving those around us, any prayer for mercy is a hypocritical request. Say that 5 times fast. Too often we ask for mercy and we give none. We may do tshuva, repentance, and yet not find it within ourselves to forgive. God always forgives the person, the Baal or Ba'alat tshuva, the truly repentant, and we must model that. Maimonides writes in his work on tshuva that we are commanded not only to ask, but to forgive ourselves. Forgive those who have let us down. Forgive those who we have counted on and been disappointed. To forgive ourselves. To write ourselves and our loved ones in the book of life, and to tell ourselves that we are forgiven. It is divine. Lewis Newman writes in his book entitled, appropriately enough, Tshuva, shocking title, that tshuva is the central moral category of Judaism. Imperfection is a part of improvement. We are given to sin because it is part of our development, part of our nature. We sin, we fail, and we become better people through the process of tshuva. Samuel Beckett, the playwright, once said, fail, fail again, fail better. We only improve by constantly failing. If it's a thing worth doing, it's worth doing badly. These 10 days are a time to take accounting, to think about where we need to improve, to forgive ourselves for our transgressions, and forgive those who have trespassed against us. We must try and we must fail. It's my hope that in the upcoming year, every one of us is blessed with imperfection and forgiveness. It's my hope that we fail, fail again, fail better, and it doesn't stop us. That we're blessed with flourishing relationships of imperfection, vulnerability, trust, love, laughter, understanding, and acceptance. Shana Tova. Tradition in our community to recognize two people who are furthering their educational opportunities and present them with a Galpert Scholarship. I'm going to call on Dr. Stu Miller to say a few words about our recipients.
Thank you. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Stuart Miller, a past PJTC president. And on behalf of the Galpert Scholarship Committee, co-chaired by Janice Pace and Debbie Singer, and includes members Betty Fishman, Susan Galpert, Barbara Felsinger, Haley Karish, Rosa Kupperman, Noni Galpert Paris, Denise Schaefer, myself, and the honorary member, the current PJTC president, Jack Singer. I'm honored to talk to you for a moment about the Rabbi Morris T. Galpert Memorial Scholarship Award. My goals are to inform you about the person Rabbi Galpert was, why we have this scholarship award, why you should consider applying for it if you're an appropriate candidate, and why I encourage you to support it with donations to continue this legacy. I was lucky enough to personally know this warm, wonderful man who was our PJTC rabbi for 36 years until he passed away in 1988 at the age of 71. He left a strong imprint on our community. He was known for his intellect, his wit, his ability to bring a connection of Judaism to our congregation in a meaningful way, and he had a desire to encourage continued learning to all he met. So it's truly appropriate that we have this Galpert Scholarship Award, which was established shortly after his death and also why this sanctuary bears his name. This award is eligible to PJTC members, their children, and their grandchildren. It is given annually to stimulate and support meritorious scholarly pursuit at upper university division levels. The scholarship consists of a monetary award to be used toward continued education, a certificate designating the awardee as a Galpert Scholar, and in addition, the awardee's name will be added to the plaque in the foyer of the sanctuary, along with the previous 35 Galpert Scholars.
Oh, they're on.
Furthermore, to enable this legacy and annual award to continue, I encourage your financial support. So now we have a very special guest to present this year's Galpert Memorial Scholarship Award. I have the privilege to introduce to you by Zoom Noni Galpert Paris, who currently lives in Arizona, and she is the daughter of Rabbi and Edith Fain Galpert. So Noni, will you introduce our awardees?
Well, Shana Tova, thank you, Stuart. I'm honored to be speaking to you tonight. As Stuart mentioned, I'm Noni Galpert Paris. My father was Rabbi Maurice Galpert. Dad served as a temple rabbi for 36 years until his passing. For many of those years, I sat in the sanctuary along with my late family, my mother Edith and my brother Arnie, watching with enormous pride as Dad stood on the bema and delivered another terrific sermon. After his death, a scholarship fund was established. As Stuart said, my father was known not only for his intellect and scholarly pursuit, but for his wit, his varied interests, his warmth and ability to connect with people from all walks of life. Some would say my dad was a Renaissance man, as he was very knowledgeable about so many different fields, including classical music, art, sports, movies, languages, literature, travel, and popular culture. He would often pursue a volume of the encyclopedia the way most people would read a book. My dad strongly believed that lifelong learning was critical in order to have a meaningful life. He wanted everyone to reach their potential, not only for themselves, but for the good of society at large. Therefore, the Rabbi Galpert Scholarship Fund is such an appropriate way to honor his memory. The cash award was first given in 1990, is awarded to applicants who are affiliated with the temple and are pursuing graduate degrees with a long-range goal leading to scholarly development. So far, 35 individuals can call themselves Galpert Scholars. This year, the Scholarship Award Committee has chosen 2 people who are very deserving of this award. Michael Karish is pursuing a master's at UC Berkeley in environmental engineering. In his application, he stressed his deep interest in solving environmental problems. Michael is also very well-rounded with interests in humanities, tennis, history, and politics. We also have Hannah Karna Bluegreen, who comes to us with 25 years as a Jewish educator working in preschools. She is currently the preschool director of B'nai Simcha Jewish Community Preschool. She holds a master's degree and is pursuing an EDD from the American Jewish University. Her greatest passion is creating adaptive learning environments for young children that are inclusive and nurturing for diverse children and their families. You both are so deserving, and I know my dad would have been very proud of your accomplishments. Now, Stuart, please give out the awards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Noni. And now I present you the awardees. I think they each have a brief statement to make. We'll start with Michael.
Hello, Shana Tova. I just very appreciative. The temple and PGTC has been a big part of my life, from Hebrew school to USY, and I really appreciate that it's continued to help me out. And thank you very much to Noni and to the Galpert family. It surprises me that anyone who saw my performance in Hebrew school is willing to put $1 towards my education. But I'm very appreciative, and thank you very much.
And now we have Shana.
Thank you. Shana Tova, everybody. I'm incredibly honored to receive the Rabbi Galpert Scholarship Award. I look forward to honoring his legacy as a lifelong learner and a dedicated community leader. I will take inspiration from his warmth and his humor and his commitment to the Jewish community, to our community. His kindness was clearly profound, and I love discovering that you, Noni, also have a doctorate in education, one that a title I one day hope to carry alongside with you, and that your brother Noni became a medical doctor. Both of you clearly chose fields where you could serve all people. I pray for such nachas for my own children and for the entire community as a whole. Shana Tova u'metuka.
Thank you to all of you for supporting this continued award. Thank you.
Thank you, Stu. So ushers, if you could let Emily know that we're going to dismiss the junior congregation. Yeah, Phil, you got it? Great, thank you so much. I'm now going to call on Terry and Maria Tornak and Stacy Todd and Spencer Sharp, who are going to open the ark for Aleinu. So that means I'm going to ask you to please rise as you're able as we do the Aleinu on page 25.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר תורה של הקדוש ברוך הוא. והשבות אל לבביך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים. Bring to your heart the knowledge that Adonai is God, there is none else. Shevota
You may be seated. In our community this week, we commemorate the art sites of Bernard Barron and Ernest Butler, of Irving Block and Bernard Bowman, of Linda Brown and Ann Cheslow, of Linda L. Brown and Sharon Lee Clark, of Shari Cohen and Goldie Davis, of Clark Demland and Alexander Dorman, of Dorothy Factor and Pat Fisher, of Beatrice Carlson Fossman, of Paula Frankel and Alan Friedman, of Leonid Garkovsky and Leonard Ava Gold, of Lillian Gortman and Fortuny Hodara, of George Katzman and Ella B. Kleckner, of Laura Kreitman and Goldie Landsman, of Maurice Lassman and Vera Lefkowitz, of Esther Lokowitz and Dorothy Lowenthal, of Norton Mendelsohn and Irene Gelatis Phelps, of Richard Raisman and Bertha R. Saperstein, of Judy Rose Schnitzer and Bob Severall, of Suzanne Siegel and Blanche Spector, of Mark Todd and Emmanuel Uffland, and of Norman Whitman. Our community mourns the loss of two longtime members who recently passed away. Marty Kirshen passed away on Friday, September 8th, and his funeral was on Monday, the 11th. Henny Moskowitz passed away on Sunday, September 10th, and her funeral services will be private. We'll host a memorial service later this year. Also, our community mourns the loss of Donald Adonis Bosch, father of David Bosch, who passed away on Friday, September 8th, 2023. All those who have a need or desire to say the Mourner's Kaddish, I'm going to ask you to please rise with me as we say the Mourner's Kaddish on page 26. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated. On page 27, we have Psalm 27, which is the psalm for the season of repentance. And I just want to read one part of it, one part that I think sums up this holiday season. One thing I ask of Adonai, this I seek, to dwell in the house of God all the days of my life, to behold God's beauty and visit in God's sanctuary. This is the prayer we say whenever we say the priestly blessing, that God's face should shine upon us. So I wish this new year a year where we feel God's presence, a year of happiness, health, security, safety, blessings, friendship, and success in our endeavors. Shana Tova Umituka. A couple of announcements. Starting on September 29th, Friday night services will be at 6:15 p.m. There will be a nosh and a pre-neg instead of an oneg after, so hopefully you'll join us. It's all part of an effort to make a more holistic approach to Shabbat. Also, on Sunday, second day of Rosh Hashanah, Tashlich is at 5 p.m. at the Arboretum. I would also be remiss if I didn't visibly show you the bags that are in the lobby, PJTC tradition of non-perishable items to be donated. The list is right here. Everything goes to the Foothill Unity Food Bank. Non-perishable, as I said. The bags are in the lobby, and please bring them with you on Yom Kippur. Don't open them and eat them on Yom Kippur. So, any other announcements? Bueller? No? Okay. All right. Thank you. Shana Tova. Hashiveni.
Hashiveni, let's return to the best version of ourselves. Let's join together. Martin, please help us with the words. השיבני אדוני אליך, וישוב החדש ימינו. כקדם, let's rise and join together. Feel free to let your body move. Good job, Michael. חדש חדש ימינו כקדם חדש חדש ימינו Shana Tova. We'll see you tomorrow morning.